Hey gang, Scott here. I've got a tip for you today for Lightroom and your long exposure photography. If you watched my video earlier this week, I did a review of Haida's new 17 stop ND filter. It's a monster of a filter, so you can get these very, very long exposures. The thing that happens when we do a longer exposure is our camera sensor heats up, we get hot pixels, and we have to deal with those in post-processing. Most of our modern tools will deal with a single hot pixel, but sometimes we get groups and they show up as these bright red, green, or blue spots. I've noticed in Lightroom there's at least a technique to deal with the red and the blue ones very easily. And I want to show that to you here. So I've got this photo here, very nice long exposure. And in the shadow areas, I'm going to zoom into this area here. Notice this, like just above my cursor here, I've got a blue spot there. I've got some red flecks over here. And these are these hot spots where the sensor has just picked up too much information or just said, I can't deal. And it gives you these hot things here. There's a green one up here as well. Whoops, green one, right above my cursor right there. So how can we get rid of these? Well, obviously you could grab the retouch tool and just start spot healing all of these, and that gets real tiring real fast. So what I've started poking around here in the brush tool, if I take moire and push it up to say 50%, I'm just going to start brushing in now. Right? And we're going to see those blue ones just disappeared. Here's another one there. What about one of these red ones right above the edge of the feather on the brush? Now it's in the center. We'll brush that one away. They just go away, and so I can just sweep over this whole area, and I'm getting rid of these hot red and blue pixels because moire is trying to deal with some of those, I call them rainbow patterns that we'll see in tightly woven clothes. You might see it in portraits and so forth. Now the only thing is, this does not deal with the hot green pixels very well. Let's take a look at this one right up here. We've got a green pixel, and just to its left there's a blue one. As a matter of fact, let's zoom in one more notch. Okay, so right here we've got red, green, and blue all in one grouping there. Now as I sweep over the blue one here, great. Red one, great. The green one, it just kind of loses the color and still stays hot. So this is not a perfect technique, but for this kind of rock, a lot of these specks might just be passable. These ones here, not so much, but actually that looks like it's part of the rock when I'm paying attention to it. But for the reds and the greens, the moire brush just makes things disappear. And so it can be a quick pass to at least get some of that distracting thing out of your way. And then you can decide, all right, is this photo, am I going to have to work with this more? If you have a camera that tends to produce only red or blue spots, this is great. But for the green ones, well, that's not working so well. There is a different technique in Photoshop. I'll share a video on that later in the week, in a couple of days probably, that shows how to deal with it. But it's one of those things you want to do it localized as well. You don't want to just do it globally on the photo. Stay tuned for that video. I'll show you the challenges with the Photoshop technique and how to work with it. But in Lightroom, at least there is some way to combat some of these hot spots. Now, one other thing you may think, oh, why don't I just drag a gradient across the entire photo and deal with all the spots in a single shot? You can do that, but you may end up having unintended consequences, and I'll show you what I mean here. So let's open up our graduated filter. I've pushed moire up to 50, and I just say, okay, I'm going to drag that and just cover the entire scene. Straighten that out there. Okay, all right, good enough for the video here. And now I've just done that pattern everywhere. I've gotten rid of all my spots, right? You probably have, at least the red and the blue ones. But notice these flowers up here. And let's go ahead. We'll zoom up into that area. Okay, they've lost a bunch of color. Now I still have that gradient pin selected. Notice all the red is gone. If I undo that change to push that moire back up, I've lost some detail. So I certainly don't want to just apply this everywhere. That would not suit me well. If I can hit that pin, I might be able to delete it. There we go. I've got my color back. I want to be selective about applying this. I don't want to just do it globally, so you still have to pay attention and look around. But that's the tip. Found it useful, thought I'd pass it along. Got questions? Drop them below. And until next time, my name's Scott Davenport. Have fun.